It's a Tuesday edition of Cards Hub 365 here on Sports Hub STL. Joe Roderick, Mike Claiborne with you after the Cardinals sweep their split squad games. Claibs, you were on the call as part of the Cardinal Radio Network. It was online only for your broadcast today, but you were in Jupiter as the Cardinals took down Pete Alonso and the Mets, the other one with the Cardinals up in West Palm Beach taking on the Nationals. Final score, I know doesn't matter to you, but the length of the game, I think both were over by 2:30 Central Time. I know that's what you're looking at in these.
Well, there's no doubt. I mean, what else are we here for? Here's the one thing that's been consistent is the play from the players that you expect to be on your roster is something that we're continuing to see, and they're doing the job. The offense came around a little bit today. Masyn Winn got his first hit. Nolan Arenado drove in a couple of runs. Victor Scott continues to swing a hot bat. So things are working in the right direction. Now, I know when you look at the box score, they had 3 errors. Yeah, but those 3 errors from minor league guys that won't be on this team this year. Tin Kent's tried to pitch around a couple of errors. But overall, I thought the performance was solid. The starting pitching was good. The relievers who came in afterwards did a nice job. So it was a good day. I think the only concerning news is Jordan Walker may have tweaked a knee in a routine play in the outfield. They're going to further evaluate him when they get back to St. Louis. So, not St. Louis, but to Jupiter.
Oh, okay.
So we probably will hear more about that tomorrow. It may just be just a tweak, just as a precaution. He may have felt something. I don't know. I wasn't at that game. But when you look at the video of it, it just looked like maybe he caught a cleat. Maybe it was a piece of side that might have been loose. Who knows? But before we jump to conclusions, let's just wait and see what the medical staff has to say probably tomorrow.
Your comments, your questions are welcome in the YouTube chat. Chime in and get involved with this edition of Cards Hub 365, powered by our friends at Gray Bar. More about them coming up in a bit. The reason that people will, I think, make a big deal of the Jordan Walker injury is because this is the first significant injury of spring training for the Cardinals. And here we are in March. It's something that maybe we're not used to as far as a healthy camp up until
It's early.
now.
It's early.
But in years past, though, but in years past, it does seem like something usually happens in those first 2 weeks.
Well, think about this. When you look at the Mets who open up the season, the spring training schedule with 2 guys in their rotation, they're already on the shelf. It happens to everyone, and it just gives somebody else an opportunity to make a name for themselves. And who's that going to be? I don't know. Let's just keep our fingers crossed as this is not a more serious, debilitating injury like we're seeing with Zach Thompson, who's going to be shut down basically for the remainder of this month for sure before he can actually be evaluated. So, every team goes through it. It's part of spring training. And, as I said, it just gives somebody else a chance to step up and do a job. And I think the best example is last year when Jordan Walker and Dylan Carlson had the collision out in Arizona. Who would have known Michael Ciani was going to be your best defender in the outfield?
Yeah, that opened the door first for Victor Scott to come up and get a chance on opening day. And after his struggles at the plate early, you saw Michael Ciani work his way into that rotation and stay there as long as he was healthy the rest of the year, which then in turn kind of opened the door for the Cardinals to trade away or look to trade away Dylan Carlson, not getting anything back in return, but still letting him move on his way and kind of going their separate ways with him. So you have been a big advocate this spring training since the games have started for Victor Scott II. You were on yesterday with Brendan Schaefer and Brooke Grimsley on the Randy Carricker show featuring Brooke Grimsley. And we talked about it more in the afternoon yesterday too, where Victor Scott's role with the team, again, he keeps hitting the way he does. 2 more hits today, as you mentioned. He keeps hitting. It's going to be real hard to look at him and say, you know what, we're going to have to keep you down in Memphis to start the season.
Plus, he stole a base as well. See, he gives the Cardinals an element that once we start learning how to use it, it can be lethal. His ability to steal bases, obviously, he has to get on base, and that was the problem he had when the season rolled around last year. But, man, he just brings a weapon that we just don't have with any consistency. And you can't tell me that a guy who's hitting behind him or a guy who's hitting in the 3 spot behind him is going to see a lot of fastballs because of the fact they're trying to throw him out. And once he gets that reputation, man, that just changes your whole dynamic in the order. So, he's just got to stay within himself, swinging pitches that are strikes, keep the ball on the ground. And so far, he's been able to do that. And, as I mentioned, Masyn Winn had a base hit today. It was a CNI single, but you could just tell that, man, he needed to get that off his back. We saw Brendan Donovan today with a triple, and so guys are starting to see that second week of pitching. And they started to do things with it, and that you can just hopefully improve. Basically, what the pitchers are now catching up to the hitters are now catching up to some of the pitchers.
And you're also seeing some of these games too, pitchers going 3 innings, which is giving some of those top of the order guys an opportunity maybe to see the pitcher twice in the same game. So they're able to actually work on making adjustments after that first at bat and get into more of a game situation of sorts of going through that order, which is helpful to both the pitcher and the hitter to see things that they're going to be seeing here in about 3 weeks.
Yeah. One of the things we had taken into account today, like Pallante only threw like 31 pitches. So he went 3 innings. He was very efficient. But you want to see guys stretch out at this point.
McGreevy was the exact same way. We'll talk about them here in just a bit. Want to remind you, though, we are brought to you and powered by Graybar. If you're still suffering from supply chain issues and they're disrupting your operations, have no fear. Graybar has you covered, and you can rely on their nationwide logistics network to get what you need, where they need, and when they need to get there, all within budget. Graybar, a trusted and leading North American distributor of electrical communications, data networking, and industrial products. They literally support products of any industry, construction, hospitals, industrial plants, schooling. It doesn't matter. Just one clear mission: to serve as that vital link of the supply chain, adding value for customers and suppliers with innovative solutions and services. So here's what you need to do. Visit graybar.com. Start an order today. That's graybar.com and fix those supply chain issues with Graybar, your distributor for electrical and datacom needs. Claibs, the games today were split squad, as we mentioned at the start of the show. Take us through, for those that aren't really familiar with how the split squad works, how does Ollie go about determining who goes where, and just, I guess, how the lineups, how the fielding, how all of that is constructed?
Well, you want to try and get your pitchers some innings and some guys some extra at bats. And so you split your squad. But it was a pretty even squad. Both teams had some pretty good players in it. McGreevy had a chance to pitch again today. And overall, it's one of those things where everybody kind of grouses about it because you're a little shorthanded as far as your bench is concerned. But it also gives players on the bench an opportunity to get more than a couple of innings in and see what they have. But for more than anything else, it gives your pitching staff a chance to get some innings in and stay on schedule. And that's what we saw today. And we may see one more before it's over with. But, it's something that every team goes through. I think it's helpful. And I think for today, as balanced as we were, it was a good day as far as getting some guys some quality at bats. Like a Fermin had a chance to get some extra at bats in. We saw some multiple pitchers. Cardinals used up the bullpen, and I didn't see who all pitched down in West Palm Beach, but I would imagine they had a pretty healthy complement of legitimate big league pitching as well.
They did. So who coaches what team? How's that work on the coaching side?
Well, they split the coaching up as well. Like today, our third base coach was Cleninger Tehan, who was our bullpen coach. And Ben Johnson, the manager from the Memphis Redbird team, Daniel Scalzo, was the manager. Ollie took Stubby and Pop with him, along with Dusty Blake with him. So it was pretty balanced. And, Ben Johnson's managed now the Cardinal organization for 3 years. And I personally think Ben Johnson has a tool to be a big league manager. So having a guy who's a very good teacher, a very good instructor, very transparent, and Cleninger, who's been with us, gosh, it's got to be at least 10 years. And he's everybody's favorite person. He's our unofficial translator as well. So he's a good baseball man. So they didn't lose anything by any of the people they had out on the field today.
You mentioned the starters for the game
Julio
today.
Rangel was our pitching coach. Julio is our bullpen coach. And Julio's been around for quite some time as well, as far as being in baseball. So we were well covered today.
One of the things that that Brendan Schaefer and I talked about yesterday on the show when we were discussing the split squad matchup with McGreevy starting at West Palm Beach against the Nationals and Andre Pallante starting in Jupiter against the Mets. And both games were televised today, too. One on FanDuel, the other one on ESPN. Our question yesterday as we wrapped up the show was what game you were more interested in watching. And earlier today, Claibs, up on the Sports Hub STL Twitter page, we threw that poll up there for which game people were more interested in watching. I wanted to see McGreevy. I have wanted to see McGreevy be in the starting rotation since the end of last season. Brendan Schaefer wanted to see Andre Pallante pitch today and wanted to see him, see him grow into that role that he might be your number 3 this year on opening day. Claibs, you didn't have a choice. You were in Jupiter watching Andre Pallante.
And I like what I saw.
Which way do you think the poll went? And
I think people wanted to see McGreevy.
70% of the voters wanted to see Michael McGreevy pitch today over Andre Pallante.
Well, you know what? They both pitched well today, and that's a plus for everyone. And I understand that. We just haven't seen a lot of McGreevy. Pallante has forced himself into the conversation by being a consistent pitcher. So, but it doesn't take away from what McGreevy did. So I get it. You've seen Pallante more than McGreevy.
Yeah. We've seen Pallante now for the last, 3 years?
Yes.
That he's been with the Cardinals. So McGreevy's new. He's somebody that it's an unknown right now. So yeah, we want to see what he has. McGreevy today up in West Palm Beach, 3 innings, 1 hit allowed. It says here, Claibs, I'm on Yahoo from Yahoo Sports app. It says he threw 12 pitches. I don't think that's correct. If it is, that's amazing. But I'm pretty sure I saw him throw more than 12 pitches today.
Well, did you look? Why don't you look at the MLB site?
I haven't pulled that one up yet.
Well, here, I'll do it for us both.
You do that. Matthew Liberatore also threw 3 innings today in West Palm Beach. So 2 pitchers got the Cardinals through 6 innings of action today against the Nationals. So 6 innings between those two. 1 hit allowed. Liberatore with 1 walk, 3 strikeouts total between the 2 of them as well.
All right, let's see what McGreevy had. McGreevy. Oh, you know what? I forgot they don't have what you call it down there, TrackMan.
Oh yeah,
StatCast. They don't have that down there, so they don't list it. That's you'd have to pull that up from somebody else, and they don't have it down there because they don't have a Class A team in that facility.
Yeah,
which is a shame because it's a beautiful setup, but because they don't have a Class A team here, they don't have TrackMan, and so therefore that number is not available. I got in trouble for that last year because I went on the air talking about the fact, you think they have all these interns, somebody can count to 10 as far as a pitch count is concerned. And their PR guy was hot. He came in and told me they don't have it. And I apologize, but I didn't know. Hell, you would expect a big league park.
It's still, them not having that still doesn't take away from having an intern that can count.
So whoever told you they had 12 pitches, I'm unless they were there for an inning, they don't have it there. I'll get it tomorrow, though.
Every single one of the pitchers in that building at West Palm Beach at one time or another has sat behind home plate at a college or high school game with a clipboard marking down pitches. They could do that there too, even though they're in the pros. It's still not beneath some of them, especially those A-ball, AA guys that can do that. Yeah.
I'm sure they have people doing it, but they just don't have it for you and me and anybody else.
So McGreevy and Liberatore get you through 6 innings today. Both of those guys are still – they're challenging really for – a spot in the starting rotation to open up the season. I think as of right now,
who?
Liberatore and McGreevy.
I think Liberatore's role will be bullpen.
I mean,
he's stretched out for a starter.
Yes. And they said that going into it that they were going to have him
because who will replace him in the bullpen?
You have 2 other lefties already in the bullpen with JoJo and King. So you do have 2 other lefties out there. Neither one of those guys, though, can do what Liberatore can do and go out there and throw 2-3 innings, can go out there and throw 50, 60 pitches, can go out there and save the entire bullpen on a bad day for a starter. So none of those guys are capable of doing what Matthew Liberatore can do, but that does give you 3 lefties in the bullpen.
So
I'm just
hey, listen, I have no problem with balance, and the thing is, if the lefties in the bullpens can get righties out, then more power to you. And I mean, that's why, like, you look at the starting rotation, you have a couple of guys out there. Matz is a lefty, and Pallante might as well be a lefty. His splits against lefties are lethal.
Yeah.
So
Bill chimes in on the YouTube chat. Why not let Pallante throw 50 pitches?
He did throw. He went out in the bullpen and threw after that inning.
Okay.
And the reason why is because they wanted to get the other relievers in the game.
And that's what I was going to say. They have a plan as to who is going to pitch the entire game.
Exactly.
So they want to get to see those other guys, those younger guys in game situations. So, yeah, he's not just done and going and hitting the golf course. He is still going out there and getting that work in. Yeah. And I would imagine McGreevy, after his 12 pitches, probably went into the bullpen too and also threw a few more innings.
I'm going to differ on the 12 pitches. You can carry that one if you want to. I don't think that's possible.
So if McGreevy continues to pitch well in spring, how do you they continue to stay healthy. How do you foresee this playing out?
Well, normally this thing unfortunately comes down to somebody with an injury, somebody with a tweak, something along that line where they miss a start. And the problem you have is you have so many off days in April that to go to a 6-man rotation means somebody's going to pitch every 8 days in some cases, and you can't have that going into June and July. So somebody's going to have to bite the bullet. I think whoever has options might want to find somewhere to be in Memphis, when the season rolls around, for not necessarily their fault, because you don't think everyone's going to pitch this well for the entire spring. So if you have options, you just never know.
And that's, Brendan and I kind of talked about that yesterday as far as Liberatore goes, that regardless of how good he looks as a starter, I don't see
he's more valuable in the bullpen.
Right. I don't see a scenario to where they look at him and they say, hey, we're going to start you in Memphis and we're going to stretch you out and make sure you can go 6-7 innings. It just, he proved his value so much last year out of the bullpen that he's going to be in St. Louis when the season starts. And as you kind of said too, where if McGreevy is number 6 right now on the depth chart, is Liberatore 7th, or is he even further back than that? Would they give somebody else an opportunity to be a starter before they moved Liberatore into that rotation?
Yeah, I think you just have to play it out. We can sit here and go back and forth on scenarios. You just got to play out, and when you have a situation like this, every pitch counts. Not every inning, every pitch counts on evaluation. Mm-hmm. And, it's going to be a tough decision. It's going to have to be made if things go as the way they are.
Right.
But as I said, there always seems to be a way where somebody's maybe a little bit behind. Maybe he's got a little bit of a tweak or whatever. And the next thing you know, they put him on a 10-day and just buy themselves some time somewhere else.
The Cardinals, before we wrap up here, Claves, today MLB announced their top 100 prospects via the MLB pipeline. They also released the top 30 prospects in all organizations throughout baseball. J.J. Weatherholt comes in the number one prospect
for the
Cardinals.
How is that?
I didn't write the article. I don't know. That's just what they come out there and they say that he is the number 23 overall prospect in all of baseball right now, which makes him the number 1 ranked Cardinal prospect.
Okay.
Quinn Matthews number. I'll read the list.
No, you don't have to read. No. I don't want to hear him.
You don't want to hear him?
I don't, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
I don't know how you can amass a ranking of that ilk if you're going by what they did, what they're doing coming into the spring training, or what they've done since spring training. Because Weatherholt hadn't done very much. He hit a home run his first time out, but Weatherholt's just been a guy who's trying to grow his brand. And as far as the rest of them, if you recall, when we first started this network, we had people climbing all over the Cardinals about, Quinn Matthews has got to be, how can you? The guy pitched 2 innings and everybody thought he should be the second-day starter. So how we get lathered up over these evaluations, when I'm willing to put your next paycheck on the line, that many of these people who do these evaluations haven't even seen these guys long enough to really have an evaluation. They see a name, they see where they was drafted, and they see one line score, because he had, again, and I'm not picking on Weatherholt, but he hasn't done that much to move ahead of anybody else in the organization that quickly. Now, his draft position may say one thing, but I'm trying to figure out at what point do they determine how these people are evaluated. So if it sounds like I'm a little sour on the top 100, you're probably right, because I don't understand how they can arrive at these determinations with regard to ranking players in such a very short window.
I will tell you, because you're doing the show either tomorrow or Thursday with Brendan Schaefer. His guy Tekoa Roby comes in at number 12 in the organization. So I'll save that for him to complain about to you. Yeah, he'll. I'm sure he'll have his issues with that coming up. You are on the call. I think
Brendan's had Brendan had him right ahead of Weatherholt, didn't he?
I think he had him up there. Yeah, I think as number 1 or number 2 in all of baseball.
Well, you know what? So. Number 1 and number 2 in all of baseball. And I think he was 4 in the National Hockey League in hockey scouting rating.
If you've seen his hair, he does look.
He has the hockey hair. That's what I'm talking about.
He does have the hockey hair. Yeah, I've compared him to every single Baltimore Oriole prospect that you've seen the last 3 years. That's what Tekoa Roby looks like.
Yeah, there is a similarity. There's no doubt about that.
Claibs, you are on the call again tomorrow afternoon.
Ricky Horton and I have the call tomorrow on the Cardinals Radio Network. Sonny Gray's going for the first time in front of America, and we're looking forward to watching him work tomorrow.
What are you looking for out of Sonny Gray, who has not pitched in a game up until tomorrow? Okay.
50 pitches.
So he's just hitting the ground. He's gonna.
Well, no, he's been working on the backfield doing sim games. So he should.
Is that his choice? Is that the organization?
His choice.
Okay.
His choice. And one of the things I appreciate about him, he is methodical as anyone, where every pitch has a purpose. He always looks for situations, runners on base, left-handed hitter, 2 out, whatever, what he likes to throw in certain situations. He is as well prepared as any pitcher I've seen in a long time.
I will look forward to watching how somebody like the demeanor of a Sonny Gray does with the ABS system. We saw Max Scherzer.
I don't think it bother him at all.
You don't think it's gonna, because Max Scherzer has been openly talked out about it.
That's Max Scherzer. Sonny Gray.
And we saw Trey Turner. We saw Trey Turner kind of tease Scherzer the other day by checking.
But what hasn't Scherzer not complained about?
Very good point.
Okay, so let's move on from him. I think Sonny Gray just wants to pitch, and whatever obstacles that come about, he can deal with, because he wasn't a guy that really called for a lot of strikes. Okay. Mm-hmm. And the more I see this in play, the catcher has a better idea what that looks like than the pitcher, because the catcher is directly behind the plate. The pitcher is falling off to one side of the mound to the other, so he does not see the action that the catcher sees. So it's a trust factor. If Sonny trusts his catcher, then you're not going to hear anything about it. He and Max Scherzer are completely different people when it comes to what's in the game and what's not. Sonny adjusts. Max complains or questions. I won't say complain. Questions. Why? And that's the difference.
Yeah. Fair comparison. That's going to do it for our show today. Cards Hub 365, powered by Gray Bar. If you missed any of it, you can go back. You can watch it all again on YouTube. It'll also be up on the podcast sites, wherever you get your podcasts. Just search for Cards Hub 365 and find it right there. Until tomorrow, he is Mike Claiborne. I'm Joe Roderick. This has been Cards Hub 365 on Sports Hub STL.